Welcome to the 11th episode of the Sports World with Patrik. Once again, we are across the sea in Europe at the moment. We're going to look through some of these hockey leagues here, sort of go through them and sort of learn a little bit more about them. So the next club that we are learning about, of course, is the SDHL. Or I'm sorry, not the SDHL. We're learning about the Champions League. The Champions League, of course, this was the first ever European-based ice hockey tournament that was launched. Of course, this started in 2014-15, and it, of course, includes 26 clubs across 6 leagues. And, of course, it is a International Ice Hockey Federation, or IHF, tournament that, of course, brings 24 teams now from 13 different countries. Of course, this was, of course, with the this was launched, of course, in 2008 during the IHF's 100th anniversary. Of course, this was sort of launched with teams across all of Europe, and they are all fighting for the European trophy. Of course, they have had some issues where they have had to cancel the tournament due to a low amount of sponsors for the SHL. Of course, they have had, of course, like I said, the issue. They usually choose 24 from their 6 founding leagues. Of course, the Swedish Hockey League, the Finnish Liga League, the Swiss National League A, the Czech Extra Liga, which we will talk about a little bit later on, the German DEL League, and the Austrian and International Ice League. Of course, all of those have all the founding clubs will have their own bid. They all will be able to stay. Of course, they do sort of rotate teams in and out. Of course, they do have teams all over Europe. Once again, this last year they did have quite a few come in from the Continental Cup, which is what the IHF chooses the remaining teams that are not part of the founding teams to be part of. Of course, the founding teams, of course, have a guaranteed spot, as we mentioned. So, with the guaranteed spots, of course, other teams are having to fight for it. Like I said, this is all across Europe, so it does include France, Germany, Spain, Italy, the Swiss, Austria, the Czechs, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania, Poland, Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark. They're all included in this. And of course, they do have knockout stages. So, of course, they do sort of go by a points ranking from the IHF. So, each team will get they'll get a certain amount of teams that they need. Of course, they do get points percentages. So, let me go ahead and give you sort of the leagues and how many berths they did have for the 2022-2023 season. So, of course, let me start off with the lowest ranking. The lowest ranking in 13 is the Metal Ligaen from Denmark. Denmark. They had 60 points, which was only 25. Let me go to this. So the league rankings, they do go in 25% tiles. So The amount of points you can gain each year, of course, will account for 25% of whatever your total points will be. So in this case, in 16-17, it only accounted for 25%. 50% of your points were coming from the 17-18 season. 75% of your points came from the 18-19 season, and of course 100% of your points came from the 19-20 season, and that will include all the total points that were in there, of course, and the Birds. So let's get back to the 13th team, or the 13th league. So 13th league was actually the Metaliga. They received 60 points, but only 15 of those points counted towards their total. During the 16-17 season, during the 17-18 season, they got 50 points, and they were only given 25% or 25, since they get half of their points during the 17-18 season, and then during the 18-19 season they also received 50 points, and they ended up only getting 38 for that. And in the 19-20 season they did get 55 points, for which they had 133 total points. They did only receive one berth for the 2022-2023 season. The next one would be the PHL, which is the Polish Hockey League. The Polish Hockey League during the 16-17 season received a total of 40 points, but only got 10% counted towards their total points, since they only were receiving 25% of their points that season. Next, in the 17-18 season, they received 50 points, same as the Denmark league, for which they only got 25 points. 50% of their points for that season. For the 18-19 season, they also received 50 points, for which they got 38 points. And in the 19-20 season, they received 60 points to equal a total of 133. So 12th and 13th are tied together, and they each received one berth each. Now, in 11th was the Norway League, the Elite Serien. The Elite Serien received 13 points during the 16-17 season, 28 during the 17-18 season, and 53 during the 18-19 season, and 40 points in the 19-20 season. Of course, they only received 134 points total and only received one bid. Next is the Slovenian. Give me just 1 second here. No, Slovakia, I'm sorry. The Slovakian League, Typos Extraliga, they received 18 points during the 16-17 season, 30 points during the 17-18 season, 41 during the 18-19, and then 55 during the 19-20, for a total of 144 points. And they only received one bid. Next is the French Liga Magnus League. They received 11 points during the 16-17 season, 25 during the 17-18 season, and 53 during the 18-19 season, with 55 in the 19-20 season, for a total of also 144. And they also received 1 point. Or they also received, one berth for the CHL, or the European League. Next is the British EIHL League, for which they received 15 points in the 16-17 season, 33 during the 17-18 season, 30 during the 18-19 season, and 70 during the 19-20 season, for a total of 148. They also only received one bid. Next was the Belarus Hockey League. And they received, during the 16-17 season, they received 20 points. During the the 16-17 season. During the 17-18 season, they received 35. During the 18-19, they received 45. And during the 19-20, they received 75 points for a total of 175, and they are the last league to receive one bid only. Next was the Ice Hockey League, which is the Austrian league that also features Hungarian, Italian, and Slovenian teams. They did receive 16 points during the 16-17 season. They received 38 points during the 17-18, 68 during the 18-19, and 70 during the 19-20 for a total of 192 points. They did receive 3 berths for the 2022-2023 season. Next is the Czechs Extraliga, which received 21 points during the 16-17 season, 48 during the 17-18, 56 during the 18-19, and 85 during the 19-20 season. They did receive total points of 210 for a total of 3 berths in the CHL. Next is the Sim Liga, the Finnish Sim Liga. They received 23 points during the 16-17 season, 45 during the 17-18 season, 64 during the 18-19 season, 80 during the 19-20 season, for a total of 212 points to receive a total of 4 berths. Next was the German Deutsche League, the DEL League. During the 16-17 season, they received 19 points. During the 17-18 season, they received 43. During the 18-19, they received 60. And during the 19-20, they received 95. For a total of 217 to receive also 4. Next is the Swiss National League, which during the 16-17 season received 25 points. During the 17-18 season received 40 points. During the 18-19 season, they received 71. During the 19-20, they received 90 for a total of 226, which included 5 berths. Next is the SHL, which we just talked about, being the top league in the CHL, with the IHF sending the most amount of players in the into the Champions League and being considered number 1. Of course, they received 24 points during the 16-17 season, 50 during the 17-18, and 75 during the 18-19 season. Of course, 100 points during the 19-20 season, for a total of 249 points and a total of 5 berths for the 2022-2023 season. So you might be asking, what type of standings does the CHL use? Well, the CHL also uses it's what most people use in North America, particularly in college hockey, which is if you win in regulation, you have 3 points, 2 points if you win overtime, 1 if you tie in regulation, 1 for an overtime loss, and none for a regulation loss. And of course, that is how they award the points for each of the teams in their season. And when they join the Champions League, of course, the latest champions are actually the Swiss National League, Geneva Severa Hockey League. They've only won 1 game, being in there. They've never been runner-ups, and this was their first time, so they are a perfect 100% of winning. When it comes to nations, as to who wins the CHL, of course, Sweden, or let me start off with the bottom. Germany has never won it, but was a runner-up once. The Czech Republic has never won it, but has been a runner-up twice. Switzerland has won once, but has never been a runner-up. Finland has had 2 wins and 2 runner-up positions, and then Sweden had 6 wins and 4 runner-up seasons. Of course, Sweden being the top league in the CHL has no surprise to the talent that they have in the SHL. So with that, we'll end this episode here, and then the next league that we will be talking about, of course, will be the Czech Hockey League, and of course a little bit of the Hungarian League, the Ice League. The Ice League is coming up later on. It will be the Hungarian League, the extra league in Hungary. So thank you.